You don't know the world you're living in.
Welcome to the future.
Welcome to this week's discussion. I'm the gadfly sent by God to rouse you from your slumber into an examined life. And today, we have to talk about thinking, about the relation between mental events and reality, about human action and thought. Let's get into it. The traditional and current common sense understanding of thoughts and perception is that our thoughts mirror reality. That is to say that when we think of an idea, especially abstract ideas, we are thinking of reality as it really is, or at least we are considering aspects of reality as they are. Sometimes in professional academic philosophy, this belief that we experience the world as it really is called direct realism. This has been the dominant understanding of the way mind interacts with reality since at least Aristotle. It has a lot of good arguments, so we can't just throw it away. But it also has a lot of problems, so we have to reconsider it. I don't think I need to prove that it has a lot of problems because almost all of the philosophy since at least Descartes has been a discussion about those problems. Questions about the relationship between object and ideas, mind and body, truth and propositions, propositions and material objects, and questions about why human beings have such well-developed abstract thinking, the ability to hypothesize and consider alternate realities, or what our fantasies and myths actually are, all arise when the simple idea that our beliefs accurately measure or represent reality is held without qualification. This idea also sometimes gets the name naive realism. But in order to answer, or more accurately, dissolve these questions, we should consider what our thought does rather than what it is. In the most general sense, thought allows human beings to make decisions while considering the majority of potential ramifications of that decision, especially in circumstances in which a decision is necessary for the continued survival of the human organism. In other words, when we think, we're really trying to solve a problem so that we know the best way to act. This is clearly seen with ethics, regardless of one's particular ethical theory. We try to know the right thing to do so that we can make that choice. Because any given action can have a varied quantity of ramifications, our thought is so developed to allow for a wide range of those possibilities to be considered. I think that's part of the gradation between different members of the animal kingdom in terms of cognition. Humans, on average, can consider more potential consequences and can consider more potential actions than a termite, but each thinks, acts, and reacts to the result. Human action is ultimately a prototype of the scientific method. Where science hypothesizes, experiments, and observes the results, human beings think, act, and observe the results likewise. Thinking is hypothesizing, and acting is experimenting. Science says evolution by natural selection made it that way, to ensure continued survival of the species. Religion might say God made it that way, to allow a more fuller relationship between man and divinity to be established. And to be honest, those two beliefs can be held at the same time, without contradiction. But that's not the discussion today. What is important for this discussion is to reimagine the human capacity for thought, not as a mirror of reality, but as a tool for decision-making, a tool for problem-solving, and a blueprint for action. To be clear, decision-making for the purpose of this discussion would be defined as the ability to choose how to act. So thought is a tool to aid our ability to make choices regarding our action. And if that is the sole function of human thought, then there are no real problems about why humans can think abstractly and particularly, or why we can come up with religious doctrines and scientific laws within the same mind. All of these things are potential blueprints for how to act. As the Darwinian model will show us, those plans of action which lead to an organism's destruction do not get passed on, because the destroyed organism can no longer pass on its genes. More broadly, the scientific method, if you will refer back to episodes prior, is one of falsification. And the best way to falsify a bad hypothesis is to die because of its fulfillment. And when we view many of the things we do with thought through this new framework, they become a lot more clear. Rather than science describing nature, it becomes a tool for predicting natural phenomena. Rather than myth and fantasy being real in some Meinongian jungle, they become poetic inspirations for what we might like to create or work toward. Rather than ethics being something which taps into the objective moral good in the universe, it becomes a plan for doing things that are effective, beneficial, and non-detrimental. That one might require a discussion about what good means, which we'll cover in a later episode, but the point still stands that proper ethics lays out instructions for conduct. And rather than philosophy being an investigation into hidden reality, uncovering truths about supernatural realms, it becomes, or rather resumes its role as, the way to do life here and now. Thank you once again. I hope I've provoked you into thinking about thinking. Why do you do it? Is thought an evolutionary development for better survivability, which in our less than state of nature world leaves room for entertaining our no longer needed faculty? Let me know in the comments. I do read them, as many as I can. As always, stay tuned. There's more to come.
They were men seen, either that or everyone else's.